is Socrates. He's on the move, and they're going to look for Socrates in the corner. Touchdown!
Rowan heading for the touchpad with the lead, and the Props will take the men's 400-yard freestyle relay.
Andrews will be in shotgun. He takes the snap, fakes the handoff. He'll throw it down the left sideline. He's got a wide open receiver. He's got the touchdown.
Okay, moving in. Sends one on goal, and he scores!
And it is a power play goal.
Back to pass, middle of the field. The catch is made by Britt. She's off to the races at the 40, the 30, the 20, the 10. Britt is in for the score.
Back on in, here's Yoxon. Yoxon with the backhand, trying to go to the front, makes the move and shot, and he scores!
Smith delivers. That's hit back toward the mound. Weiss has it in short. He steps on second, and the ball game is over. Massapequa Coast has won the 2023 New York State Little League Baseball Championship. Live from South Shore Little League in Staten Island, New York, the PDF Sports Network is proud to welcome you into coverage of the 2024 New York State Little League Baseball Championship. Today we begin our Day 1 coverage with the championship's opening ceremony, featuring a parade into the South Shore Little League complex and a chance to meet the 8 teams that will be looking to move one step closer to a spot in the 2024 Little League World Series. Good morning, everybody. My name is Joe Foreman, alongside my broadcast partner, David Pizzuto, soon to be joined by our engineer and second man on color, Aaron Cohen. And Dave, last year, the 2023 New York State Little League Baseball Championship became the biggest event in the history of the PDF Sports Network. Countless unforgettable moments viewed by an audience of over 70,000 to date. And all of that culminated with Massapequa Coast moving on to the Little League World Series.
Yeah, Joe, it was a great tournament, and for me, anyway, an eye-opening one. To get to see the 8 best teams from all over the state come together and give us 15 games on 2 sites over the course of a full week. And let's not forget a skills competition thrown in the mix. It was just dazzling. And Massapequa Coast was a fitting champion last year. They earned it, and they seemed to get better and better last year with each game represented well in the Mid-Atlantic region as well. It was great that we were able to bring all those games into the homes of people all over the region and the country, and to be able to run it back here in 2024, even better.
No doubt about it, Dave. And before the opening ceremony begins and our first games of the day get underway, let's talk about the format of this year's championship. Like last season, 8 teams will compete round-robin style in 2 randomly selected 4-team divisions. Each team will play the other 3 teams in their respective division once each. 1 game today, 1 game tomorrow, and 1 game on Thursday. After that, the top 2 teams in each division will move on to the semifinal round on Friday. The winners of the 2 semifinal matchups will then face off in the championship game on Saturday.
Right, Joe, and all of this came into play pretty quickly, too. The teams all punched their tickets here over the past couple of weeks, but the coaches of the 8 teams only met for the first time last night, and through a lottery system of sorts, they randomly pulled their respective pods. Massapequa Coast, who we just mentioned, North Shore, East Greenbush Castleton, and the hosts, South Shore, all landed in Pod A and will play this morning here at South Shore Little League. And Auburn, Penfield, Harrison, and Plattsburgh all pulled for Pod B, and those 4 teams will play in a doubleheader later this evening in games played at Great Kills Little League. Then tomorrow's morning games will be at Great Kills for Pod B, and the Pod A teams will play in the evening back here at South Shore. They switch again on Thursday. Either way, Joe, we will have every inning of coverage, and all of the matchups are now spelled out nicely on our YouTube page as well for those who may not have seen the actual draw yet.
And if we have some extra time ahead of the ceremony, perhaps we'll go through all of those matchups that you can expect throughout the week. But as for us here on PDF, last season was our first season covering this event, and personally for me and the rest of the crew, it was our first experience covering Little League Baseball. The week-long championship not only saw these young athletes put on a great show, but we also got the chance to learn quite a bit about the Little League game and how it differs from the college games that all of us have become so used to covering, that being our PDF crew, of course. First and foremost, the 85 pitch limit and required rest days that follow any given outing for these pitchers managers plays a massive role, especially here on day one. Pitchers that reach that 85 pitch limit today are still eligible to take the mound again in a potential championship game on Saturday. However, any pitcher to reach that 85 pitch limit after today would be done for the remainder of the week. That certainly gives the managers plenty to think about and makes for some tough decisions with a trip to the Little League World Series on the line.
Absolutely, Joe. And the players, they're the ones that go out there and win the games, but really the management of these games is the game within the game. There's a lot to think about that only belongs here in Little League, and pitching depth, especially in pool play tournament like this one, is paramount. Do you maybe limit your ace to under 65 pitches here today, Joe, so that maybe they can throw an inning on Friday if they have to under 20 pitches? How do you manage your bullpen this week? And with only a roster of between 10 and 13 players, how do you manage kids in the field and where they're playing, as sometimes players have 2 and 3 positions that they excel at? And finally, Joe, remember that all players hit on the roster. So if you're sending up 12 players to the plate and you're facing a hot pitcher, your best hitters may only get up twice in an entire 6-inning game. So do you try and extend pitch counts early, or do you look to hop on something to drive in, early in at-bats, knowing that opposing pitching is on the clock and wants to throw strikes early in games? There is a lot to take in. And one of the things that really stayed with me last year was that element of the game. You cannot win this tournament unless you pull the right strings as a manager, and it's a showcase for them, too.
So many questions these managers will need to address throughout the week, and I'm sure we will speak about that plenty during our broadcast. As you mentioned earlier, Dave, 15 games worth of coverage this week and plenty of big decisions for these managers of the region's 8 best teams. But as I mentioned before, there are 8 teams competing in this week's championship. Each of those 8 teams represents one of the region's Little Leagues and is made up of that league's all-stars. 4 of these teams became very familiar to our audience and the teams here at PDF last season, but 4 new teams will get the chance to earn a spot as New York's representative in Williamsport here this week.
That's right, Joe. And the one that's on full display today, at least where we are, is North Shore, as they enter a pod with 3 teams who were here last year. Now, obviously, the players change, and so this is a new experience for just about everyone. But still, that does put a little bit of pressure on them as the quote-unquote new face. And we won't have to wait long for them as they start play at 11:30 a.m. today against the defending champs of this tourney to boot, Massapequa Coast. The other 3 new teams, Auburn, Plattsburgh, and Harrison, all very impressive in their lead-ups to this tournament. And 3 of those 4 you'll have tonight at Great Kills in that doubleheader. Joe, new or old, there are hundreds of Little League teams in New York, thousands of kids playing this classic, and these are the best of the best. We're in for a great tournament this week.
No question about it, Dave. And you mentioned 3 of the 4 teams in this pod, returning teams. Massapequa Coast, East Greenbush Castleton, finalists in this event last year. South Shore, the host this morning, a semifinalist. We get to look at a rematch between them and Massapequa Coast to open up play over at Great Kills on Thursday night. We're certainly looking forward to that game. But throughout the week last year, we got a chance to interact with some of the players and family members here at South Shore and over at Great Kills, and I think that's something that made covering the 2023 championship so enjoyable for us. We also got a chance to welcome the YouTube stream live chat into the broadcast, giving everyone watching the chance to make their voices heard back at home. And finally, calling these games from beyond the outfield wall was unlike anything I had experienced before. As a broadcaster, this was truly one of the most unique events I've had the chance to cover, and most importantly, you can tell that these young ball players had a blast getting the chance to showcase their skills to the audience here on PDF.
I'm with you, Joe. We do have a rather unique perspective here in basically left field at South Shore and dead center field in Great Kills, but it really makes you appreciate what's going on everywhere in the field. And listen, the kids are great. The parents are fantastic. The managers and team officials are truly great people. And one thing is always at play here, Joe. everyone is here because they love the game of baseball. It's a lot of work. These kids grind every day. Their parents sacrifice their summers and plan vacations around where travel ball is located. The managerial teams do this all for free. You know, it's amazing. The purity of the game is on full display all week. The sportsmanship is there. And then you throw on the fact that the baseball is phenomenal. You really can't beat it.
Not just a blast for the players, Dave, but a blast for us here on the PDF Sports Network. And as we wait for the teams to arrive here at South Shore, we will step aside and take a quick break. After a brief message from some of our sponsors, we will throw it down to public address and meet the 8 teams participating in the 2024 New York State Little League Baseball Championship. Day 1 of our coverage continues when we come back right here on the PDF Sports Network. And welcome back inside South Shore Little League on Staten Island, New York for our Day 1 coverage of the 2024 New York State Little League Baseball Championship here on the PDF Sports Network. My name is Joe Foreman, alongside my broadcast partner, David Pizzuto, soon to be joined by our engineer and camera operator during today's parade festivities, Aaron Cohen. And Dave, as we mentioned ahead of the break, we do have the full schedule that was released late last night following the managers' meeting over at Great Kills. So we'll go day by day and break down the schedule. If the parade does begin before we finish, we'll cut wherever we are, throw it down to PA, and wrap up with the schedule once our opening ceremony concludes. But on the docket today, here at South Shore, our opening game will feature last season's championship winner, Massapequa Coast, taking on a newcomer to the tournament this year, North Shore. That matchup is followed by a big game, especially for the home fans here, as South Shore will take on a finalist from last year in East Greenbush Castleton.
Yeah, absolutely. So right off the bat, we get a look at 3 returning teams to this tournament here at South Shore. Of course, the one newcomer that we mentioned earlier at North Shore. And then we switch venues. You'll be with Nick Bavona over at Great Kills. And, Joe, looks like we're going to be starting here our parade, so maybe we should throw it down. All
right, so at this time, we'll throw it down to public address as we meet the players from our 8 teams participating in this year's championship.
On behalf of District 24, District Administrator Frank Cambria, I would like to welcome all of you, our players, their families, our friends, fans, and special guests to Staten Island, New York, and to South Shore Little League, the 2024 New York State Little League Baseball Championship Tournament. We're extremely honored and happy to have you with us here today. This year's tournament is being hosted jointly at 2 great Little League complexes in District 24 on Staten Island, here at South Shore Little League, and also at the Great Kills Little League. Today's a Parade of Champions is being held at the Joseph A. Verdino Jr. Field of Dreams, the home of South Shore Little League. Game action will begin here at South Shore Little League this morning and move to Great Kills Little League Complex later this evening, where Great Kills president Rob Pascal and his team will be your hosts. So now, let's get to the moment we've all been waiting for. Our 2024 Parade of Champions. Let's get these boys on the field. Each one of these teams is already a champion in their own right, having had to battle through and win tough district and sectional tournaments just to get here. Introducing first, please welcome the champions from Section 1 East, the Auburn Little League. Auburn comes to us from New York District 24 and is managed by Brandon Lucio with coaches Joe Portapillo and Joe Milano. And your champions from Section 1 West, please welcome the Penfield Little League. Penfield comes out of New York District 4 and is managed by Andy Struzik with coaches Matt Byatsky and Jason Bolt. Now please welcome your champions from Section 2 North, the Plattsburgh Little League. Plattsburgh plays in New York District 37 and is managed by Ryan O'Connell with coaches Ryan Parks and Andy Lamanto. Entering the stadium now, please welcome the champions from Section 2 South, the East Greenbush Castleton Little League. East Greenbush is from New York District 14 and is managed by Jeff Pierce with coaches Bob Lacasse and Sebastian Corbisiero. And your champions from Section 3 North, please welcome the Harrison Little League. Harrison is out of New York District 20 and is managed by Johnny Rothschild with coaches Brian Gould and Rob Welgos. Now please welcome the champions from Section 4 East, the North Shore Little League. North Shore plays out of New York District 36 and is managed by Gus Mejia with coaches Justin Waltz and Jason Miller. And now the champions from Section 4 West. Please welcome the Massapequa Coat Little League. Massapequa Little League is the defending New York State champion. They come to us from New York District 31, and they're managed by Brian Love with coaches Nick Garland and Craig Garland. And ladies and gentlemen, it gives me special pleasure to introduce this next team. Your champions from Section 3 South, the South Shore Little League.
My job is done.
South Shore plays right here in Staten Island, New York District 24, and is managed by Bob Laterza with coaches Joe Curro and Steve Grippo. Ladies and gentlemen, how about a nice big round of applause for our 8th sectional champions? At this time, I would ask that everyone please rise, remove your hats and face the flag, which is located in the center of our complex behind the third base line. We have a very special treat today, as our national anthem will be sung by South Shore Little League's very own 9-year-old Vizcaya Curro. How about a nice round of applause for Vizcaya Curro? Thank you so much. Outstanding. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a number of special guests here today. First, I'd like to introduce the real driving force behind bringing this state tournament here to Staten Island. None of this would have been possible without his guidance and his leadership. Please welcome District 24 Administrator, Mr. Frank Cambria.
Thank you, Ben. Welcome, everybody. It's
a great day. It's going to be a great week. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, on behalf of New York State Little League President Danny Cavello and his executive staff, we welcome you to the 2024 New York State Little League Tournament. I am District Administrator 24, Frank Cambria, and standing before us are the 8 best Little League Division teams in New York State. Just to show you how impressive they are. Just to show you how impressive their accomplishments are to get to this point. There are 38 districts, 400 leagues, and 1,300 teams, and on this field are the final 8 teams. Please give them a great round of applause. I'm going to introduce the presidents of each league and the DA and the section coordinator. So let me run through this. Section 1 East champions, Auburn Little League, President Greg Mott, DA Mike Kelsey, section coordinator Andy Mascari. Section 1 West champions, Penfield Little League, Dan Wright, president, DA Larry Miller, and section coordinator Tom Miller-Pateri. Section 2 North champions, Plattsburgh Little League, president Amanda Surreal, DA Dan Solomon, and section coordinator Dan Solomon. Section 2 South champions, East Greenbush Castleton Little League president, Dan Consolo, Gary Krill is the DA, and Dan Solomon is the section coordinator. Section 4 East champions, North Shore Little League, president Steve Capel, DA Jeremy Savino, and section coordinator Jim McDaniels. Section 4 West champions, Massapequa Coast Little League, president Craig Garland, DA JJ Coroner, and section coordinator Jim McDaniels. Section 3 North champions, Harrison Little League, president Mike Connors, DA Bob Candria, and section coordinator Chris Amorosa. And last but not least, section 3 South champions, South Shore Little League, president Vin Nicolo, DA Frank Cambria, and section coordinator Chris Amorosa. Let's all remember, Little League's about teamwork, sportsmanship, making friends, and having fun. It allows us to build great memories for our children, parents, and grandparents, so let's keep it fun for the children. I would like to introduce some special people here, but let's bring out the Little League president. Who will be saying that? All right, so we'll hold up. Brent's going to bring them out for the Little League play. All right. Our host league, I want to thank President ADA Ben Defferbell and President Vinny Nicolo from South Shore, and Great Hills President Robert Pascal, District 24. Their 7 presidents, Rob Pascal, Vinny Nicolo, John Pleswitz, Dennis Thompson, Chris Bruno, Karen Marcello, Nikki Sanseverino. My tournament coordinator, John Sigari, right here. Let's give him a nice round of applause for doing so much work to get this thing going and put it all together. And of course, my ADAs, Ben Defbau, Candace Graham, Angela DeFilippis, Michael Lee, Joe DeMayo, Brian Kenny, Dean Peccarell, John Matera, Jamie Remchuk, and Alan Turge. Okay, now I'd like to introduce a special guest here, Assemblyman Sam Carazzolo.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to thank you for inviting me to your tournament. To all the teams, good luck, play well. I have a little bit of a hometown bias here, so let's go Staten Island. And 3 of my most favorite words, let's play ball.
Thank you, Sam. Just a quick synopsis of what you got planned ahead. We have a great week planned. Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday will be pool play games. Friday, the semifinal games, which are the top 2 teams from each pool. And Saturday, the 2 winners will face off to be the New York State champion. Wednesday is our fun day. It's in the middle of the week. There'll be a skills competition with 3 events, and all players will have a chance to participate for their teams.
Following the skills competition will be a picnic on the field, and then the Captain Day off. All teams will be honored at the Staten Island Ferry Hawks game and march on the field as a parade. So that's all I have to say. I know it was a little long, but let me bring back Ben. Good luck to everybody.
Thank you, Frank. So this year, we would like to have all of our Little League players participate in the reciting of the Little League Pledge. So boys, I'm going to ask you to repeat after me, nice and loud. I trust in God. I love my country. I will respect its laws. I will play fair and strive to win. But win or lose, I will always do my best. Thank you, boys. Our Parents' Pledge will be read today by Alexis Curro.
I will teach all children to play fair and do their best. I will positively support all managers, coaches, and players. I will respect the decisions of the umpires. I will praise a good effort despite the outcome of the game.
Thank you, Jeff. At this time, we would like to throw out the ceremonial first pitch of the 2024 tournament. As this tournament will be hosted jointly by South Shore Little League and Great Kills Little League, Rob Pascal and I wanted to have someone important to both leagues throw out the first pitch. And this will be a surprise for this gentleman, as he does not know he was selected. So for the past 2 years, this man has organized and put this tournament together from A to Z. He deals with every issue, from designing and populating our beautiful website, which I encourage all of you to visit, to dealing with every issue with every team in the tournament, securing information, hotels, sponsorships, streaming rights, equipment, budgeting, entertainment, and food, and I could go on and on. We could not do this without him. John Singeri, Steffo, and Peter Giacchio will be doing the catching of the first pitch. Very nice, very nice. Congratulations. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. Ladies and gentlemen, this kind of tournament does not happen without the work of many, many other volunteers. And who you will see throughout your week with us. Too many people mention them all one by one. But volunteers, please, we recognize you. And we are truly grateful for your time and efforts. And a special thank you to our sponsors. We could not do this without your help. To our parents, players, and coaches, I know you are all here to compete and try your hardest to win and move on to a regional tournament in Bristol. But at some point during this week, win or lose, to take a step back and just really enjoy this experience. Players, enjoy this time with your friends and your teammates. Parents, enjoy this time with your children and your families. These are memories that will last a lifetime. Ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our ceremony for today. Please remember that Game 1 of the tournament between Massapequa Coast Little League and North Shore Little League kicks off at approximately 11:30 a.m., followed by South Shore Little League versus East Greenbush Little League at 2:30 p.m. This evening, the action moves to the Great Kills Little League for another doubleheader beginning at 5 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. Have a great tournament, and good luck to all of you. Thank you.
And we're back here on the PDF Sports Network. Joe Foreman rejoining you alongside David Pizzuto and Aaron Cohen for the first time today as we get set for the start of the 2024 New York State Little League Baseball Championship. As you just saw, our parade of champions concluded with our ceremonial first pitch, a beautiful rendition of the national anthem, and much, much more. Aaron, this is your first time joining us on headset here today. What are your first impressions of the Little League Baseball Championship here in New York State? That was quite the way to kick off the week.
Yeah, it was magnificent, Joe. Really awesome to see everyone come together and appreciate just the ability to play in this tournament and potentially advance further into the Little League World Series bracket. I mean, as a former New York State Little League World Series competitor myself, this is awesome. My middle school self is super excited. I'm very jealous of these kids and their opportunity.
I didn't know we had a Little League World Series vet on the crew. Aaron, you should have shared this with me before we came on headset. I'm sure we'll get plenty of opportunities to talk about some of your experiences from throughout the week. But Dave, you and I talked about some of the matchups on deck here today at South Shore. We'll get to the ones over at Great Kills a little bit later. There's plenty to look forward to this week. What has caught your eye on the slate upcoming throughout the rest of the week here in this year's championship?
Well, what really caught my eye coming in, Joe, was the fact that all of these teams really ripped through, getting here. They won emphatically. There was some, tough games along the way, but they kind of punched their ticket here pretty emphatically. They all belong here. They all feel like they, belong on this field with one another. And I think from here the talent gets to unfold. Couple of other takeaways, Joe, is that last year when I came in, I thought, this is going to be all about pitching, but really the hitting, the clutch hitting with men in scoring position, and also, Joe, the fielding is just remarkable at this level of play. It was my number one takeaway from last year. The team that's the cleanest in the field usually wins these games.
That's absolutely the case in many of the games that we've covered here during this tournament. Of course, all of those having taken place last year. And to add to that just a bit, walks are killer. You give away at bats with walks, that pitch count runs up, and all of a sudden you have to start thinking about who's next in line to come in, managing pitch counts. There's so much that goes into managing those decisions, as you and I spoke about before, Dave. Aaron, what do you think are some of the biggest decisions these managers will have to make throughout the week from your experience? Is pitch count the number one concern, or is there something else that we're missing?
I would put a lot of emphasis on pitch count just because when you have rosters this small and at this age, not every player can pitch and consistently put the ball in the strike zone. So if you are maybe limited in your roster and the amount of pitchers you feel like you can rely on, it's really difficult to manage that, especially when you're playing multiple games in a very short period of time. So if you're really reliant on one player to get you through a lot of innings, you need to make sure that you don't put them over too many pitches to use them again later.
And we will certainly have our eye on that throughout the week. But coming up next here on the PDF Sports Network, our first game of pool play from South Shore Little League. Game 1 will feature North Shore taking on last year's champion, Massapequa Coast. First pitch of that game is scheduled for 11:30. That game will be followed by East Greenbush Castleton taking on the host, South Shore. So until 11:30, this has been Joe Foreman alongside David Pizzuto and Aaron Cohen. All of us will return for the call of Game 1 once again at 11:30. Tune back in here on the PDF Sports Network to catch North Shore taking on Massapequa Coast.